Welcome to another episode of Under the Strap. I'm your host, John Rathouz, and on this episode, I sit down with Aaron Flener, caddy for JT Postman, to put a bow on 2022 and look forward to next year. No better guy to be with for the holidays than Flener, drinks in hand, and you get to understand what a caddy off-season is like as they head for Hawaii and the Sentry Tournament of Champions in less than a week, thanks to their win at the John Deere Classic this summer. We even answer some questions from the mailbag, including some great info for people that are interested in getting into caddying on the Korn Ferry Tour, a funny story on what it's like to stay at Colt Knost's house, JT's lucky break of the year that got him going, caddying at the Open at St. Andrews, live talk, and a special shout out to our boy Gino. Thanks for listening. Have a good holiday season and all the best in 2023. Here's Big Cat, Under the Strap. Welcome. Under the Strap, got Aaron Flener with me to finish the year. Caddy for JT Poston. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. I got my little toddy and my Santa mug.
Love it. I've got
ready to go.
I've got a whiskey, a bourbon from Kentucky in your honor, a little ginger ale, and in a Masters cup because I know you're heading there sometime soon.
Yeah, a couple months away.
Wow. And you got your Santa Claus hat on too.
Yeah, Santa Claus. That's actually a new apparel line my buddy Dustin Lynch has just released, so showing a little love to those guys.
You said it's Stay Country?
Stay Country, yeah. So, I'm not the biggest country guy in the world, but just showing some support to some buddies of mine, and they got some good-looking stuff.
Yeah, it does look good. I like the logo. Well, hey, the last I saw you was at RSM. We went out to a little dinner with the tour junkies, our friends. That was a fun little get together.
Yeah.
And then
that was a good week. We finally had to work Saturday and Sunday there. We usually take the weekend off, but he decided he wanted to play a couple more days this time.
At that place, that's kind of a home game for him, isn't it? And he doesn't usually play well there?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Some of those guys that live down there, I don't know if it's they put too much pressure on themselves or they're just, they're playing the course at a time of year they don't usually play it. And I don't know what the deal is, but historically we have not done well there. But yeah. I think he finished 21st this year. So
nice.
It's a good way to finish off the year there.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I counted about the fourth time you and I have caught up this year. We caught up at the Wyndham for a few minutes, I think, before one of your tee times on Saturday there. And then our winning caddy interview there when you guys won at the Deere. And then we had another run-in earlier this year out in L.A. when you, me, and Gino sat down to analyze Harry Gibbs and Joel Damon taking off their shirts like we were on SportsCenter.
Golly, that seems like so long ago we did that.
I know. So it's been a fun year. I'm here in Omaha. I know you guys are getting hit pretty hard too. I feel like the wind chill outside here right now, just to give you an idea, is probably what the winning score was for Cam Smith last year at the Sentry.
Yeah, it's in Nashville right now. It is about 50 degrees, but it's supposed to get down. Like the wind chill is supposed to be like minus 20 by middle of the night. So yeah. I don't know how that's going to work, but. Yeah. Anyways, I've turned my heat up a little bit more. Got a faucet dripping upstairs as I've been told to do. So we'll see what happens. I'm supposed to travel tomorrow. Just got a little short drive up to Kentucky to see my parents and my brothers and nieces, and so hopefully the roads will stay okay enough to do that.
Well, you talk about family. I mean, it's the holidays. You're a festive guy. I think there's nobody better to have on right now, and I think you're probably pretty fun to be with. During the holidays, do your family have any traditions? You're talking about getting together. Do you guys do anything every year when you get together?
Nothing in particular. It's more just spending time with each other. I mean, obviously I'm gone a lot, and I got two younger brothers, and one of them has two daughters, so we're going in a lot of different directions. My parents spent half the year in Sandestin, Florida. So anytime we can get together, we just enjoy spending time with each other. Sometimes there'll be like a game of gin or something break out, some sort of board game occasionally. But yeah, it's just about hanging out, catching up, and giving each other a couple gifts and eating some good food.
Yeah, for sure. No, we got the same thing on tap. Can you recall what's your best Christmas gift received ever? Maybe as a kid.
Oh man, as a kid, still into video games big time back then. So like, I remember like getting our first Nintendo.
Yep.
And like thinking that was like the greatest thing ever. We got one of those little the Jeeps, the electric Jeeps that you drive around in the yard and driveway or whatever. We had one of those. Probably like we were getting basketball goals and stuff like that. I mean, we were all huge into sports, me and my brothers. So, a bunch of stuff like that.
That you mentioned the first one, like, because we're about the same age, and that was my most memorable gift as a kid. Of course, when Santa Claus came to our house, the gifts weren't wrapped. We'd come around the corner by the fireplace.
Yeah, same.
And they were just all open. And my wife and I are going to continue that tradition with our daughter this year. She's going to be a little more alert at 2. But I remember coming around the corner one year with my brother, and that Nintendo was hooked up to the TV, and Mario was like bouncing around Santa had it all dialed perfectly. It's like the best gift I ever got. I totally remember it.
Yeah.
So you mentioned basketball too. I know you're a big sports guy. Have you been watching a lot of basketball lately? I know you're a Kentucky fan.
Yeah, I've been watching. I actually went to a couple games this week. I have a cousin that is an assistant coach for Michigan Tech.
Okay.
And they played a game against a D2 school in Kentucky. I went there Monday night, and then Tuesday night I went to Louisville, watched my alma mater, Lipscomb Bisons, take down the Louisville Cardinals.
No way.
At the Yum Center. So they beat them by 8. They were actually favored in the game. Louisville's having a tough year. So we went up there and watched that. So that was fun. And then I've been watching Kentucky games when I can, and I don't know, man. I'm just frustrated with it.
We're frustrated here in Omaha. We were picked 7th to start the year, and our guys are on like a 6-game losing streak. The world's ending. Hopefully we turn it around though. But I mean, that's amazing. I mean, you said you were favored, but that's cool. I know you love to hate on Louisville.
Oh, I love it. It's one of my favorite pastimes.
And your alma mater took him down.
Yeah, so that was cool to see. I hated looking down there. Kenny Payne, Louisville's coach, is a former Kentucky assistant, so it's kind of sad looking down there and seeing him on that end of the stick. But it's still Louisville. You still hate them, so we were happy to win.
Did you see that clip the other night of Tom Izzo in an elf sweater getting teed up?
Yeah. If you get teed up in an elf sweater, you are mad.
That's exactly right. That's instant viral too, right?
Yes. Yeah. He probably doesn't think about that though.
No, he doesn't. I mean, he's like, he went along with it a little bit, but once you get in between the lines, like all bets are off. You went on a tropical vacation too. I was scrolling your Instagram. You got out of town for a little bit, didn't you?
Yeah, believe it or not, I turned 40 years old this year. So December 9th was my birthday, and we went. We left straight from the postman's wedding. We were down there. They handed out these little hats at the reception. We all wore those around. But yeah, we went straight from there and flew down to Turks and Caicos and met 6 of my buddies from college and their wives and girlfriends, and had a time down there for 7 days. It was by the end of it, everybody was dragging a little bit. But it was awesome. So yeah, got to go relax and just kind of celebrate all those years of friendship that I've had with those guys and girls. And so that was fun. Came back, didn't do anything the next week. And then, this week we've been to a couple games and just, hanging out, getting ready for the season.
But you mentioned the postman's wedding. I mean, that's big news, and I'm sure maybe that was on his mind a little bit. It was right after Seattle, and then you guys had Thanksgiving, and then boom, he went and got married the next weekend?
Yeah, I think I was home for like 10 days after RSM, and then we were heading back down there. So it was fun. His wife, Kelly, wanted me to sing a few songs at the reception, so sang their first dance song, and then we went straight into Baton Rouge, of course. And then me and one of the band guys sang the last song of the night, and then we were done. But
that's awesome. Yeah, I saw a clip of Baton Rouge. What was their first dance song that you were?
It's called "Steady Heart," sung by Cameron Marlowe. So,
gotcha.
Newer song, and then the last song I did me and one of their band guys did the Beyond the the duet that Luke Combs and Leon Bridges did at the CMT Crossroads thing. So yeah, it was awesome. It's just a nice little party trick to pull out. There was a bunch of golfers and caddies there that probably never seen me do that before in person. So I think they all had their phones out, and so it was a good time.
That's fun. So who were any fellow pros in his wedding party?
He had his brothers and his dad and a couple college teammates of his, and his brother-in-law. They were in it, but Keith Mitchell was at the wedding. Keith, Joel Damon, Brandon Harkins, Grayson Sigg, Harris English, Patton. Yeah, so probably missing a couple too, but yeah, it was a good time.
That's a good crew. Yeah, Brandon Harkins, he can get after it a little bit, huh?
Oh yeah, it's Harkins. I don't think he'll care for me to share this, but we were at the reception, the cocktail hour or whatever, right after, and he's has his mixed drink in his hand, cocktail, and I look at he's got a beer sticking out of his back pocket. I was like, what are you doing with that beer there, bud? He was like, oh, that's my safety beer. And I'm like, safety beer? I was like, I've been around and just this, the scene of wedding parties and everything for a while. I've never heard of a safety beer. He's like, yeah. He's like, what if I finish my cocktail and then I'm in a conversation I don't want to leave? Boom, safety beer. Or if I'm in line waiting for my next drink, boom, safety beer. So I learned something. You learn something new every day, they say, and definitely learned about the safety beer that day. So everybody feel free to use that.
I love it. And you know what? It'll come in handy at the next holiday after Christmas here, New Year's, which are you going to be heading to Kapalua for New Year's?
No. So my girlfriend's sister is getting married next week in Columbus, Ohio. So we're going to be up there for that. Leave the 28th, and we'll be there until we'll be spending New Year's there. So her sister gets married on the 30th. Then the 31st, they're throwing a big New Year's party with basically everybody that came to the wedding and is still in town and wants to come. And so we're doing that, and then we are flying out on the 1st out of Columbus.
Love it.
So
your girlfriend's coming, and then you're going to go get thrown straight into the hills of Kapalua.
Yeah, man, I'm not prepared. Like last time we went, I worked out quite a bit leading up to it, and this time I have not. And so it is going to be a rude awakening. Yeah. You even get a ton of shuttles there, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, from like 12T all the way to 17T is just like basically straight up the mountain. So.
Do they let you guys take golf carts during practice rounds?
Carts and practice rounds too,
okay.
Yeah. So that's nice, but still, like Thursday, you're just getting thrown
right
straight into it. So
yeah,
I've been trying to at least watch what I eat and lose a couple pounds before we go, but I haven't gotten myself to hop on that exercise bike yet. But
well, then you mentioned you've been there before. You guys went the year after you won the Wyndham there a few years back, and then you got it done at the Deere this year. And so what are you most looking forward to? It's kind of nice having been there before, you kind of know what to expect.
Yeah, I mean, it's a golf course that obviously suits guys that send it out there a long way. Fairways are humongous. When we were there, it was pretty windy every day. So I think the scores were a little bit lower than last year, but last year I saw there was no wind and they just torched it.
Yeah.
So, if it's a little firmer, like that helps us because we can scoot it out there a little further with those guys.
Mm-hmm.
If it's soft, then it's, that's definitely not an advantage for us. I'm not saying he can't play well, but there's definitely going to be guys that fly it further than we do. So, looking forward to it though, like, know the golf course this time going in, so it won't have to really learn much. Mm-hmm. Just get back into the flow and hope I can finish 72 holes.
Has he been a guy in the past, like either when you're coming off like maybe a long break, like like winter break, or maybe you took a couple weeks off at home? Like, has he been a guy in the past that can get right into it really well, or does it just kind of matter what golf course you guys are on?
Yeah, I think the golf course definitely matters, and like how much he's been doing in his downtime matters too. We talked kind of at the end of Sea Island. He was he was wanting to stay in the gym and keep a club in his hand, like, and not playing a ton, but just, going and hitting some every day so he didn't feel, super rusty, 4 days,
Right.
before. So, it'll be what it is when we get out there. I know that he's been putting in work, so that doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to play great, but he's always working, man. He very dedicated to being a professional, and he stays ready. So
yeah, for sure. You do anything off the course there that you did last time, or that you want to do this time around?
I actually have a good high school friend that lives there. He's lived there for quite a while. He's a realtor. And so definitely try to catch up with him and his wife. They got married actually in Nashville last year, and I happened to be out of town, so I missed that. So looking forward to hang out with them some. And I know that my girlfriend and JT's wife have been texting some about getting dinner reservations and stuff, places, and
Love it.
I'll just go with the flow, man. We're staying at the Westin, and we'll probably hit the pool and some downtime and whatever. I expect to be very tired Thursday through Sunday, so I need to get all that stuff out of the way early in the week.
Yeah. Are you you're participating in this deal, this Aloha Friday, right?
Yes, I am.
All right. So you're wearing a Hawaiian shirt. You and Shay and maybe Billy Foster got a Hawaiian shirt, kind of promoting things on Aloha Friday.
I think Scoverin might be doing it too.
Okay.
So I got the nice people at Vineyard Vines to send me a couple options. So I've got one ready to go. And my girlfriend is a genius at social media. That's what she does for work. So I'm hoping to have some good Instagram content coming y'all's way for that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I noticed that in her bio, and then you're really good on social media. I think you've been more on Instagram lately. Have you kind of matriculated from Twitter over to Instagram this last year?
I still read Twitter a lot. I just don't have that much stuff to say that I feel is interesting, I guess. It's either like tweeting anger about UK sports or, maybe a little bit about golf, but try to be careful with what, things are saying on Twitter. But I'll enjoy some of it. Some of it is, you know how it is.
Yeah, I mean, some of it it's noise, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
speaking of Twitter, though, I asked when we hopped on, I tweeted out to ask us some caddy or golf related questions.
Oh, love it! All right, what do you got?
Let's see. My buddy Manny said, if you could only have one encore snack for the rest of your days caddying, what is it and why is it an Uncrustable? I think he hit the nail on the head there. Those are great. You can't go wrong with just a mid-round banana. That's usually quick and, efficient. But I did get a good question from @Hitter Blanco.
Okay.
He asked a question that I get asked a whole lot. You probably do too. It's, what steps does a club caddy need to take to get a bag on the Korn Ferry Tour?
Oh, all right. I like that.
I actually got asked that earlier today. I get that question a lot, and there's no short answer to that question.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways. I would, I tell people, if your brother or your best friend is not on the PGA Tour, you are not going from not being a caddy to a caddy on the PGA Tour. There's no way.
Yeah.
So, but I think there are opportunities on the Korn Ferry Tour. I don't know the days of guys hanging out in the lot. I don't know if that's still a thing out there, but I would say the Korn Ferry Tour is your best bet. It's probably your only path to getting on the PGA Tour at some point.
Yeah.
So I would say, DEM guys, that are on the Korn Ferry Tour and just say, tell them who you are and, what your interests are and what, what kind of, what you're looking to do.
Yeah.
And, they'll either not message you back or they might message you back and say, no, thanks, I'm set. But,
Right.
You might get somebody that's like, hey, I actually need a guy for these couple weeks. And, all it takes is getting your foot in the door. It's once you, learn the caddying part of it, it's just a relationships business for the most part.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think guys still have opportunities to work the lot on the Korn Ferry Tour. I think there's probably fewer full-time Korn Ferry Tour caddies maybe than when I first started out there in the mid-2000s. I think the economics haven't changed as much. I think they are getting better out there. Like it costs more to travel now, but the purses haven't gone up as much. And I think they've kicked the purses up a little bit for next year. I think if you're a club caddy already, like you've got a leg up on people because guys are going to be like, all right, at least this guy has done some caddying before. And then I think it just becomes like making those initial connections and then showing up. Like, I mean, Pepsi Steve, my buddy, always said, out of sight, out of mind. And, that's easier said than done, right? You have to kind of take some risks initially to and put yourself out there and maybe have to sleep in your car for a couple nights or sleep on somebody's couch or, whatever it may be. You work for a guy 1 week, you get fired, you got to get back in there. There's a sensible way to go about it. I had somebody hit me up about like, hey, I've never caddied before on that tour. Like the Bahamas is coming up. And I'm like, well, you can try to DM some guys like you were saying, but also like that might not be the best place to start. Like you're going to break your bank right off the bat.
Yeah. Yeah, those are tough ones to start out at for sure. I mean, I guess you could also like try to find contact information for tournament directors on that tour and, send them an email or something and just say, hey, put me on a list if any guys call you asking about caddies. And just like know what your limitations are starting out. If you don't know exactly what you're doing, then don't try to, overstep. Just kind of just be somebody that shows up and is fun to hang out with for 5 hours.
Yep.
And, just be honest about what your level of knowledge is, and you can learn it as you go. I mean, that's what I did. I played in college, but I didn't know how to caddy.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally different.
Yeah.
And so, like, I was lucky I had, Kent Bull brought me along, kind of taught me along the way on the Latin American tour, like, hey, you said this back there. I don't really want to hear that, And it wasn't a mean thing. It was just like he was teaching me, like, the things that guys want to hear, going into a shot or information that they're looking for and what they're not. So, you just need somebody that can be patient with you if you don't know everything, and definitely don't go out there acting like you know everything.
Yeah.
Because you don't. I don't. I've been doing this for 8 years.
Right.
I still learn stuff all the time.
Yeah. I like that. Know your limitations. And if you don't know the answer, it's better to not say anything or to sign off on what they're doing than to make something up. That's going to burn you more times than it's going to work out. You talked about Kent bringing you out. Like, what year was that that you first started?
That was 2015. I was working for the state of Tennessee, and Kent was actually living with me in Nashville at the time. And he just gotten a new sponsor, and he said, hey, my sponsor's willing to, pay a caddy to go down there with me on the Latin tour. And I was like, look, I'm fine, like, not making money. As long as I don't lose money, then I'll go do it. And so we've, worked out a deal where his sponsor covered my expenses and made sure I was getting paid enough to cover my bills back at home. I owned a house at that point. So that was the only thing I was worried about. I didn't care about making money. I just wanted to learn and, like, network and meet other guys. And that was just such a great opportunity for me. And, met tons of guys on the Latin Tour in 2015 that are on the PGA Tour now, like Harry Higgs, Adam Shank, Keith Mitchell. There's a ton of them. We tried to go through and list them one day. Me and Keith were talking about it. And so, like, at the time, I didn't even realize how great of a experience that would be and, like, how good it would be for my career getting to know all those guys. Because, like, Keith Mitchell and JT Poston were roommates, and I needed a job, and JT needed a caddy, and Keith said, JT, you should hire Flener. And now we're 5 years down the road, got 2 wins, and just feel like he's just getting started too. So like, it could just happen. I mean,
I like that. But the Latin tour always intrigued me, at least on the Korn Ferry tour, going to some of the Latin stops. I never really made it further than Panama, but when you were out on that tour for Kent, what's your favorite stop? Like, what do you remember about caddying in South America, I guess?
I mean, it was an experience. Once you found somewhere you like to eat, like you just go to that place every night. you don't mess around down there with the food. You stay at the hotel they tell you to stay at. You take the tour shuttles back and forth from the course. You don't rent a car. But like I said, like I was so lucky that I was doing it expense free.
Mm-hmm.
That year, and that's not going to be able to be everybody's experience. So, but like I said, I mean, I guess many tours guys probably aren't using caddies much anymore, so that's not really a viable option.
Yeah.
But I do think Korn Ferry, if they can get a guy that they like hanging out with, they know is going to show up. If you're not like hard up for money to make, if you can stretch it out for a year or two and not make much money, if you're okay with that, then you can go do it.
Yeah.
If you're not okay with making no money your first couple of years, then it's probably not for you.
Yeah, that's true. And you say like 7 years, you say go, probably in some respects feels like a million years ago for you. But when you look at it, like that's not a lot of time. And you listed off, a couple of wins with JT and how you networked onto that, but you and Steven Yeager killed it for a while. Like it can happen fast. And then also like for guys who are like, hey, I want to get on the Korn Ferry tour. Like it is very conceivable. I don't know what the path is going to look like going forward, but you could start a year with a guy and that fall be out on the PGA tour. I know they're going to tweak the schedule a little bit, but the point is like you get hot out there for a year. Maybe it takes you 2 years and you kind of bide your time. Don't be a know-it-all. And all of a sudden, you're going to find yourself, out on the PGA Tour. That's what happened to me from I started in 2004 and early 2007 with John Merrick. We had kind of done our thing, and I was out there on the tour. So that happens every year for guys. There's so many, as you know, new faces that show up in the caddy yard on the PGA Tour every year. And it's great to meet everybody, and everybody's got their own story.
Yeah, a lot of different ways to get out there. I mean, if you don't know anybody, then it's definitely harder.
Yeah.
But you're not going to know anybody if you don't go meet anybody. So if you want to go for it, I would say go for it. First event that's in the U.S., even if you don't get a bag, go meet people. Mm-hmm. And call tournament directors, if you know any agents or anything, even if you know an agent from a different sport, they would probably have some sort of contact with a golf agent. And
like that.
So...
Yeah, I hustled a Monday qualifier my first week out there. You go out to Monday qualifier, and at that time, I think it still is. There was like 14 dudes, or 7 at one site and 7 at the other, and Jim Lemon, he needed a looper that week in Chicago, and we were off to the races. So, did you have any other questions from online?
Trying to see if there's any that are appropriate. Some guy asked me, Keith Nolan.
Yes.
Asked, do you carry the umbrella on the bag every day? Which is a shot at me for not having the umbrella at Congaree a couple years ago. We got caught on TV. We're playing with DJ and Kisner. So we're like one of the featured groups on TV, and it starts raining. It wasn't supposed to rain. It poured down for like 10 minutes, and we just got absolutely drenched. And so I thought we were going to miss the cut anyway, so it didn't really matter. But I do not carry the umbrella every day now. It did not scare me into that.
Interesting. I got that question. I worked for Matthias Schwab at RSM there last month, and he asked me the first day. It's like, and it was kind of like a chance of it. And he's like, should we carry the umbrella? And I initially said no. And then everybody was looking at me like, are you an idiot? Like, and then I was like, wait, never mind, bring it out. It was like my first rodeo. My all-time favorite umbrella story is from Pepsi. Steve was caddying for Johnson Wagner here in Omaha at the Cox Classic. And they took the umbrella out at the beginning of the day. You know, I think maybe it was one of those things where Johnson said, "Hey, do we need the umbrella?" And Steve said, "Nah, you know, leave it in the locker." And they got to the turn, had another opportunity, and out of nowhere, Midwest Storm kind of pops up late in the round. They're leading the golf tournament. It's on TV, and it starts downpouring. And his wife Johnson's wife has one of those like little, you know, rinky-dink ones. And so I think she might have loaned that to Johnson for like a hole. But Steve went into the crowd and found somebody with, you know, and paid the guy. He goes, "Here's $20. I'll rent that from you." And the guy gave it to him. They were Titleist, and it was a Nike umbrella. And he got him through, you know, for the next couple holes. And they were on TV, you know, the biggest term of the year with a Nike umbrella and Titleist. But, yeah, I mean, it can happen.
That's great.
What's your guys' schedule then after you play Sentry? You going to go over and play I would assume you go play at Sony, right?
Yeah, we'll play Sony. He likes that place. And we'll play Sony in Palm Springs. He's had success at both of those before. And then we've been playing Torrey the past couple of years, but we're not going to do it this year. We're going to take off Torrey and Pebble. He never plays Pebble. So we'll have 2 weeks off there, and then we'll come back out for Phoenix and LA. Phoenix, obviously, I love that tournament. He likes it. I think you either like it or you really hate it.
Yeah.
And he loved Riv's like one of his favorite courses on tour. So play those two, and then I'm not really sure after that. I think when we get in the Florida swing, we had been skipping Bay Hill, but now it's 20 million. So we're like, well, maybe we should give it another chance. Because all those courses in Florida are hard, right? So It's like you're going to get your teeth kicked in for a month if you play them all. So we're definitely not going to play them all. Definitely going to play Players. So I'd say we'll play Bay Hill, Players, and then Valspar will probably depend on if we're in the match play at that point.
Gotcha.
So
I like the taking Torrey off this year, and also Phoenix Open this year is going to be. I mean, it's always but then it's going to be another level this year. The Super Bowl's in town. I think I caddied it one year when the Super Bowl was in town. Thoughts on that whole mess?
Yeah, luckily my guy Colt Knost is going to house me that week. I always stay with Colt for that tournament, but this year I've been talking to some guys, and it's like. That's going to be a nice free week to have this year. So I'll be staying with him and my buddy Dustin Lynch, who was my college teammate, country musician. He's playing the concert Wednesday night this year. So talked to him the other night. He said he's going to be there all week. So get to hang out with him and watch the Super Bowl with those guys. So it's going to be a fun week. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, for people that might be intrigued, I mean, maybe the version you can give us, and I kind of have a little bit of an idea, but tell us what it would be like staying with Colt Knost at his house.
Well, luckily, as a former player, he understands that I have to work that week, so he's not, he's not pressuring me to go out and do stuff, but that doesn't mean that he's not going out and doing stuff. A couple years ago, I had to go let him in his front door in the middle of the night when I had to get up and work early. But Colt. I mean, obviously everybody in golf knows Colt. Him and Slee's doing the great job on the podcast, and Colt doing the CBS TV work. So he's just a character, man. I love hanging out with him and hearing his stories and. He goes out every night and still kills it on TV every day. It's pretty cool. It's fun. I always look forward to hanging with him.
It's been an awesome year for Colt Knost and for Sleaze. I mean, the year before it kind of started even more, but he's really risen up the ranks, and so many people are excited to hear him call. And he's so good at it too. I mean, he's got a knack for it. One of the things I really like about what he does is he's not afraid to kind of pose questions back to the other commentators when he's out there, and he's very quick-witted, which comes in handy too. Yeah,
he's not scared to make fun of himself too, so that's that's always a good quality in someone. I feel like if you can laugh at yourself,
right?
Well,
let's talk a little bit about last year. I mean, I was looking back at the year, and I know we caught up after you guys won, and that's kind of where I want to go with this, although I have some questions about after that as well. You guys it was kind of maybe a little bit of a slower start in terms of finishes, and then he got it going a little bit. He had a top 10 at Hilton Head, and then he did another top 10 at Quail Hollow, so he was kind of, all right, I'm in my neck of the woods, feeling good.
That was in DC this year.
Oh, it was in DC. Okay.
Yeah, gotcha. They moved it because President's Cup, but yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So he was starting, and I know his swing was coming together, and then boom, you guys hit him with a second at Travelers.
Yeah, so he was definitely working on a little swing, some swing stuff early in the year, and he had some flashes of figuring it out, and top 10 at Hilton Head, but then I think a couple missed cuts after that, and then top 10 in DC. It was just awful weather all week, and it was
Max home.
Never been more happy to have a tournament end than that one.
Yeah, Max and Keegan Bradley got after it, and that was a huge kind of Max.
They're another top 10, but then I think he had maybe a couple missed cuts after that, and then Travelers, it finally all clicked, and probably the best break I've ever seen on a golf course in the first round there at Travelers. He was 1 under. He started on 10. He's 1 under through 2. Gets on 12, which is that lot tighter driving hole than it looks like. That OB comes in quick on the left, and he just snap hooks this. I don't know if it's 3-wooder driver. Anyways, it's heading like way left. Like he's not even watching it.
Mm-hmm.
He's come back to get another ball, and it hits a tree in the middle of the forest and kicks back out in the middle of the fairway. And I start laughing. He's like, "What?" He's like, "It's in the middle." I was like, "It's in the fairway." He's like, "Are you kidding?" I was like, "No." So he goes up there. I mean, it was still way back. Like he hit 6-iron in onto the green, makes par. Then he birdies the next 5, shoots 62 that day. So it was like that one little break, and then like just getting a little bit of confidence going. It just like turned the whole season around, really. And then from like Travelers on all the way through Atlanta, I was thinking about it earlier today. That was just a blur, honestly, because Travelers was boom, and then he wins John Deere, and then we go to the Open, we come back, and then the playoffs start. Memphis, he finished like 20th at Memphis and locks up Atlanta for the first time. So like it was just a blur. I mean, it was all good stuff, but it just like seemed like it happened so fast, and then the next season started.
Right,
so,
you're riding the wave. I saw you got a picture framed for your Meemaw of the win there at John Deere, which would look like a pretty cool gift.
Yeah, the guys at John Deere, Claire and Ron, the caddy, the guy that runs the caddy area. I guess they get that made for the winning caddy every year and send it to them, and that's just something I knew that my Meemaw would love, and so I gave that to her the other day, and she was giving me a hard time. She was like, "Well, I expect another one next year." And I was like, "All right, well, which one do you want?" She was like, "Well, let's see. Let's get one of the majors, maybe." I was like, "All right, yeah.
Get right on
All
that.
Right, no big deal. Yeah, we'll just take care of that." So I texted JT, and he was laughing. So, Meemaw, she's 92 years old. She's still sharp as a tack. Stays up later than I do every night, watching sports and watches every golf tournament every week. So she knows what's going on.
You should invite her to the Phoenix Open this year.
Oh, man. I don't think that wouldn't be a great environment for her, I don't think.
You also got a sweet straw hat from the Deere and a cutoff. You took a nice volunteer shirt, maybe it was, and you cut off the sleeves, Larry the Cable Guy style. You've been rocking that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's only so many places that can be worn. I wore it to JT's bachelor party. We went down to Sweetens Cove one day and played golf. I wore it down there. And then I took it on my vacation to Turks and wore it down to the pool one day. So
love it. Tell me about Sweetens Cove. I've always wanted to go there. I feel like I'll get there one day, but I mean, I know that's a bucket list now.
Yeah, it's great. It's a little 9-hole track down close to Chattanooga, just out probably 25 minutes west of Chattanooga, in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee. They have a Waffle House, a Crystal, a Wendy's, a Mexican restaurant, and a McDonald's, I think, there. Yeah. And we went down. We had a bus come pick us up. We were staying in Nashville. Had a bus come pick us up. Took probably 16, 17 of us down there. We played golf all day, and then the bus drove us back. It was pretty good. Then a couple weeks later, I went down and played the Sweetens Cove member guest. Oh. And their greens are like crazy slow, and they had them running like a 12. It was insane. I've three-putted probably 50 times.
Who's the member you know out there?
His name is a college teammate of mine.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a good time, man. I know they do it like, I don't know, it's very bare bones, but really cool. I just love the whole aesthetic there.
Yeah, it's a good vibe. They had like cigars for us and a bunch of whiskey laying around the whole weekend. So it was a time.
Love it. You mentioned, so then you guys, I don't know if you had a week off there or not, but you got to caddy in the 150th Open Championship at St. Andrews, the home of golf. That had to have been a really cool week.
Yeah, so after we won Deere, we actually had the option to go play the Scottish if we want. We weren't in the Scottish before that. And he just, with everything that comes with a win, all the, stuff you have to do, he just didn't want to try to fit all that in. He wanted to go home and regroup before, going over there. So that's what we did. And, it was awesome. I got lucky with some last-minute housing. Mac Barnhart had an extra room at the place he was staying in and was nice enough to let me stay there. And it was just up in the town. I just walked I walked to the golf course every day and then walked home. It was like a 10, 15-minute walk. And, of course, the town's just buzzing, with that going on there. So it was really cool just to walk back and forth every day and just see how many people were there. Obviously, the old courses has so much history, and so that being my first one was really cool to do. I remember Friday night, I went to dinner with JT and Kelly and his dad, and we were up on one of those rooftop restaurants right there by 18. And so Tiger and Max and Fitzpatrick played with them. So they were coming down 18 like late because it took forever to play the first day. And so they're coming down 18. We walked out to the balcony and got to watch Tiger finish up on 18 that day, which was cool. Like, we were in the middle of dinner. I was like, I'm going outside.
Really? And that was when because he missed the cut, right? And I think and then maybe he didn't do any wave, though, on the Swilken Bridge, did he? He just walked right across that thing like, I'm not.
No. I think in his mind, he probably thinks he's going to try to play it again.
Yeah.
It's an easy walk there, which is good for him. But
yeah,
I hope he does. But it was cool either way just to watch him finish out because, a lot of people leave, but there was a lot of people still there when he was coming in.
That's interesting. Like, I hear about when the guys were at the Scottish and they're like, we're playing this famous golf course today and this and that. Like, for as many people as there, and then you say, oh, we were on the rooftop restaurant. Like, I don't know. It's just like you can kind of still do all the cool stuff even though everybody's there. I don't know. It's kind of weird how that works out.
Yeah, I don't know if, I guess everybody doesn't stay in the town that's going to the tournament. They probably drive in and out. But, yeah, we didn't really have any problems, like going to eat anywhere or anything like that. So, yeah, I didn't have my clubs, but guys did go play all over the place that week.
What did you think? Did you watch Tiger and Charlie play there last week at all, or any thought? He was pumping it out there past JT. Like, I saw him I didn't watch a ton of it, but I saw him hit a 4-iron into 18 on Saturday, I think. This thing was to the moon. It flew 240, and he had a putt for eagle, and he's like nothing. Like, it was a cool week for him.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it. I didn't watch a ton, but he can still hit. He can still hit it. Obviously, I think like he said, he just can't walk. So I think part of that is the plantar stuff he's got going on. So hopefully, if that heals up, he can still play a few times this year. He's always going to have the limp, obviously, but Yeah, we need him out there. I mean, he's still a draw. He's still, people want to see him. So it's nothing but good for our tour if he's out there playing.
Mm-hmm. And you guys qualified for the Tour Championship you mentioned. I mean, what was that like for you first time around East Lake? And, I mean, there's 30 guys there. Pretty cool week.
Yeah, it is really cool. I actually have a funny story from that week. I don't remember which day it was, but there's one day I got there in the morning. I'm eating breakfast or whatever, and I go to start putting the pins in my book for that day, and I realize I don't have my yardage book. I left it at home. So luckily I was there like plenty early, and I was only staying like 10 minutes away. So I called JT, I was like, hey, don't panic. I forgot my yardage book. I got to go back home and get it.
Right.
I'll be back in plenty of time. I just wanted you to know in case you didn't see me around, because players and caddies all eat in the same room that week. So it's like, if you don't see me in there, I'm here. I just had to go get my yardage book. Yeah. So, it was awesome though. That's where you want to be at the end of the year, right? Yeah. So if you're there, you've had a good year, most everybody's in a pretty good mood, no matter how that week's going. I just remember it was so hot. Saturday was one of the hottest I've ever been on a golf course that week.
Yeah.
So hot that I was staying 10 minutes away, but I was still bringing clothes to the course so I could shower after we got done before I went back home.
That's cool. And then right down the road, obviously Augusta, and we talked about it earlier. Do you guys have any plans to play practice rounds up there? I feel like I was talking to – who was I talking to? Somebody. Oh, it was Simon, Seamus's caddy. And he was like, yeah, I might get an invite to go play. I'm hoping. We'll see what happens. I'm not expecting it.
Yeah, he took me last time that we were in. And so I've played it once, and we haven't talked about it. I mean, obviously, if he asks me to go, I'm going to go. You don't say no to that. But I'm not going to ask for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know what is their open and closing schedule.
Well, I think that from what I gather, I think they're open now. I think they open in October, November, and then they're closed in early May or something like that.
I got you.
So
he'll probably, I would think maybe during that 2-week break he's taking early in the year, he might try to go up there, or maybe the week we take off in Florida, he might try to go. So I don't know. We haven't discussed it, so we'll see what happens.
Well, a couple more things. We'll get you out of here. Sentry Tournament of Champions. That's the one coming up next. It's going to be strange to not have the defending champion there this year, Cam Smith. I mean, that's not one that you skip, right? And obviously he's, taking his talents over to the Live Tour. Thoughts on that? And did you watch any Live golf last year?
Yeah, I mean, it's 35 guys for $20 million this year. So I think if you're in that tournament, you're probably going.
Right.
So, he won't be there, or the players, which will be it'll definitely be weird. I did not watch much Live last year. I don't have anything against those guys, or, it's not easily accessible, really. And, we were playing a lot when they were playing. So I did not watch much of it.
What has been we're in the caddy yard and stuff. We're talking to fellow caddies, and I mean, I know we both have friends that caddy out there now. I mean, what has been the temperature?
The big joke all the time is have you found a bag on the Live Tour yet? I remember when it was first starting, everybody's like, "Can you get me a bag on the Live? Who's going?" Not that I wasn't trying to go anywhere, but that was the big joke. I still talk to Abe Answer's caddy, Benji.
Yep.
Quite a bit. He's a good buddy. And, I'm happy for those guys. Those guys are making some life-changing money over there. So, whether that tour makes it or not, those guys, they're not going to make those guys give their money back. So, happy for them. you know, I don't, you know, I don't know my feelings about how it's affecting the whole golf landscape.
Yeah.
I think I mean, for me personally, it's done nothing but good because it's raised our purses, kind of brought attention to caddy treatment. Like, you know, thankfully the PGA Tour just raised the caddy insurance stipend another $300 or $400. We're up to, you know, $900, which is a pretty big deal per month. So, you know, little stuff like that is kind of changing for us. And so for me personally, it's been, I think, great. You know, for golf as a whole, you know, when you're taking top players away from playing each other, then, you know, as a product for the fan, it's not quite as good, probably. But, you know, we'll see what happens. I'm comfortable with where we are and what tour we're playing on, and looking forward to another year on this tour. And, you know, still want the best for all the guys that went over to the other tour too.
Sure.
Like,
Yep. That makes sense. That's been what I've kind of noticed as well, and mostly my opinion. I'm interested to see how the team thing goes next year out there, if they kind of enhance that a little bit more. So, you know, we'll see, you know, where it all goes. All right. Get you out of here. I don't think I've had you on the podcast before, so I don't think I've asked you this question. But I like to end every guest with this. And let's say first question, out of any of the four majors, which one would you most like to win if you were playing?
I think you got to say the Masters.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, you know, I grew up that's the first tournament I really remember like watching as a kid. You know, it just has so much tradition. It's, you know, you get to go back every year. Yeah, for me, it would be that one. You know, okay. I think if you ask some guy from, you know, the UK, they would probably say the Open.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I'll take any of them, honestly. I mean,
as will Mima.
Yeah. I think Mima would be happy with any of the four. I asked her which one she wanted, and she said, "Well, the Masters is the first one, so let's go ahead and just get that one." So,
hey,
we're going to try to go get it.
I could see it happening. So here's the question: you're playing, and I happen to be caddying for you. You're having a great week. You've got a one-shot lead on Saturday night. I go out on the town. Maybe I'm hanging out with the tour junkies a little bit. I trip and break my leg. I can't go the final round. You can call anyone in the world to come caddy for you in the final round. Who are you going to call?
I'm probably calling Gino. You know, as long as we'll just assume that Joel's not playing, or Joel missed the cut, and Gino's still hanging around.
Or he'll go out with Joel first out, and then he'll hop onto you
right
for the final pair.
Yeah, I think that would be my best chance to pull off the win is having Gino jump on there.
Yeah, love it. Well, it was a big win.
Worst case scenario, we would have fun.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's been a monster year for him too, and for Joel. And we're looking forward to the Netflix thing that's going to come out.
Oh yeah,
here shortly. I mean, that's
their crew went to Gino's trailer one day. So like, if they don't give that like 20 minutes, then I'm going to turn it off.
Yeah, and he said that you know, Joel's agent. Hopefully, I'm not cat's out of the bag, but he said Joel's agent kind of texted him or called him and said, "Hey, you know, would you be interested in going on the Jimmy Fallon show sometime in February?" And Gino's like, "Yeah, I mean, I'll go. Like, I'll believe it when I see it." But so stay tuned for that. I mean,
oh my gosh,
Gino and Joel on the Jimmy Fallon show.
That would be amazing.
And we invited him to come on here today. This has been great to catch up with you. Gino's up on the rooftop like Santa Claus, getting his house going.
Yeah, he's trying to get out of the trailer, so he's working on his new house, trying to get that finished up before he gets back into the swing of things on tour. So we'll give him a pass today.
Sounds good. Hey, well, happy holidays. Congrats on a great year, and good luck here in 23. We'll be following you and JT.
Appreciate it, buddy.